MVP odds. So, Peter, why don't we start with you this time? Give me your way too early, super early pick to win NFL MVP in the year 2022.
Yeah, I'm sticking with the guy that I took when we did it right after the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson plus 1,800 for MVP.
I hate this
Um,
pick.
I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to bet it yet. I kind of want to see if this number drops a little bit more because I think odds makers aren't high on the Ravens this year. Probably rightfully so after they trade away Hollywood Brown. Their receiver room is questionable. But Lamar Jackson is arguably the most dynamic player in the NFL. And last year, I think if he doesn't get hurt, he probably finishes in the top 3 in the MVP conversation. But obviously got hurt, kind of cost him the second half of the season. But Lamar, the thing I thought we saw he take a step last year. He threw for more yards in 12 games last year than he threw for in 15 games the year before. The rushing yards were still there. I think that's going to be even better with J.K. Dobbins back healthy. They're actually going to have a real threat out of the backfield, makes the read option a little bit more believable rather than just everybody assuming Lamar's going to tuck it instead of handing it off to washed up Le'Veon Bell. So I like him as just a dynamic weapon to stuff the stat sheet. He's going to put up crazy numbers. And if the Ravens win, he's going to have to be in the conversation. Obviously, they're going to need some help at receiver. It's going to be Rashad Bateman and Bateman and Mark Andrews who are really going to kind of carry this team. But I'm not sold, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, Ian. I'm not sold on anyone in the AFC North entering the season. The Steelers have quarterback questions, obviously. The Browns, maybe Deshaun Watson plays, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and stake any claim on the Browns being good. And then the Bengals, I feel like they're just due for some regression. I know I was all over the Bengals in the playoffs, and I love them, but they are also going to not go from facing a last place schedule to a first place schedule. It's a big difference. They're going to have some tougher games. And this Ravens team, they were the most injured team in the NFL last year. So if they can stay a little bit healthier this year, I think Lamar just naturally is just the most dynamic player on the field in almost every game he plays in. So I don't mind him for MVP. He's pretty far down the odds board right now at WinBet. So don't hate him for this award.
I do hate him for this award. How about that? You and Donovan can team up, Team Lamar Jackson. Listen, I lived through the Mike Vick era in Atlanta. I know how these quarterbacks go. They don't regress and then start to get better again. They just continue to regress. I guess Cam Newton's not really that good of a comparison to these guys. But last year, 16 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. I just looked this up while you were praising Lamar Jackson. So only 3 more touchdowns than interceptions. A QBR of 50.7. Not good. Interception percentage of 3.4. Yeah, not good.
Questionable weapons around him.
Those are some turnovers. It's hard to win MVP turning the ball over.
Lost his left tackle, lost his starting running back.
I will give you that. That is a good point.
The first 6 games.
The Ravens were unbelievably banged up.
Yeah, it was just him last year. It's almost more of a Ravens have to be healthier. It's just there's no way they can have more injuries than they had last year. And I just think that naturally helps elevate Lamar. And I think if he had a healthy team last year, he looks a lot better. Ronnie Stanley's one of the best left tackles in football, and he didn't have him. So I think there's a reason to buy low on Lamar, but he's obviously not the favorite for a reason.
All right, fair enough. I'll give out a pick who is a guy who's even further down the odds list, and it's just downright disrespectful. Do you know who I'm going to say?
I know. I knew the second we said we were doing this segment who you were going to pick.
Matty Ice, the most underrated, disrespected player in NFL history, 30-1. He finally gets to play on a good team. The first time he's played in a good team since he's won the MVP, since he went to the Super Bowl. Not only that, a good offensive line as well. He was running for his life all year last year, one of the worst, if not the single worst offensive line in all of football, especially the interior. So he wasn't getting pressure around the outside. He was getting pressure coming at him right up the middle. What he was able to do on that Falcons team last year with no weapons, Calvin Ridley hardly played all year, no offensive line, is beyond impressive. But people think he's washed up, thinks that he's old. Aaron Rodgers just won back-to-back MVPs, and he's 3 years older than Matt Ryan. So he is the most underrated player in NFL history. Myself and Donovan have made this argument before in the past. Anyone who's not a Falcons fan thinks that Matt Ryan isn't as good as what he is because they don't watch Falcons games because they're not a media darling. They barely get any primetime games in a year. Nobody pays attention to even when the Falcons were good, nobody really paid attention to them and watched their games. as a Falcons fan, I've watched this guy play his entire career. He is one of the better quarterbacks of our generation. And now, like I said, he finally, I think even when they went on the Super Bowl and he won MVP, he did not have a good offensive line. This is like the best offensive line he has ever played behind. So I think Matt Ryan at 30-1 in a weak division that he can pick apart, man, give me Matt Ryan 30-1. I'm a Colts fan this year because the Falcons are going to stink. They might win 2 games. So go Colts. Go Matt Ryan 30-1. Most underrated player in NFL history.
I don't hate it because I think they're going to win that division pretty easily. If you look at the competition in there, I think Matt Ryan, obviously huge upgrade over Carson Wentz. I think they have a good shot there. The only thing that scares me is the receiving weapons. Like, I know you said he had no weapons. He did have Kyle Pitts last year, but like the Colts are not, rich with receiving weapons either. Is he going to be throwing a Michael Pittman and Ashton Doolin and
big Paris Campbell here? This is Paris Campbell.
Yeah, Paris Campbell. So I wouldn't mind.
They just drafted a guy. What's the name of the guy they just drafted?
Who they take?
They took Alec Pierce?
Might have been. Who knows? Who knows? But he is on a better team, so I will give you that. Jonathan Taylor should help him. I just wonder if Jonathan Taylor is the better MVP candidate than Matt Ryan if they stay run heavy.
Alec Pierce from Cincinnati was Desmond Ritter's main option this year. So, hell yeah. Let's go Colts. Let's go Matt Ryan.
Yeah.